Welcome back to Celtic State of Mind's Matchday coverage. It's half-time. It's scoreless at McDiarmid Park. Lawrence, what was your thoughts on that first half performance?
Bit disappointing. Not moving the ball quick enough, not getting forward quick enough. A lot of players static when we've got the ball, not enough movement. St Johnstone doing what the ref lets them do. You know, after the ball's away, they're niggling. That tackle in Frimpong. Jeez, we're shouting for a red card. That's saying that the ref doesn't even give a yellow, doesn't even have a word with the guy. But then again, St Johnstone can only do that as long as the ref allows them to do it.
Well, you see, I don't want it to be an entire half-time analysis moaning about the decision of the referee or the collective decisions of the referee. But he's been appalling in that first half. The incident you're referring to was 19 minutes in, and as soon as you seen it, it looked dreadful. We didn't get a chance to look at a slow motion replay of it, unfortunately, Colin. Yes, we were shouting for a red, but that kind of tactic is how Frimpong is going to be dealt with in Scottish football this season.
Well, we touched on it before the game, but even go back to the first 5 minutes, it's a stick-on penalty, isn't it? Mm-hmm. The guy's pulling Duffy's jersey. You're obviously, maybe we're just foolish expecting to even get them.
I think that what you've got is when you've got a team that are looking to play football and a team that can't play football, you're always going to get things like this where if they can't beat them on the park, they're going to try and use other tactics. And so far, so good for St Johnstone, because that's what they've done. They've tried to kick us off the park, and Cham get elbowed off the ball. They're wrestling. They're not playing football. I don't know. I mean, again, we don't want to go on about the refs' performances, but Nick Walsh has been shocking in this first half, and I don't expect it to change going forward. So we have to change. How
do you combat it, Colin? Because we're sitting here at half time. It's been a dreadful performance by the referee. It's not been a great performance by Celtic.
No.
But how do you combat that where every single time someone like Frimpong, not just Frimpong, releases the ball, there's a niggle. Sometimes he's been skived down twice in the first half. How do you combat it?
Well, for me, what you've got to do is you've got to look at the players that are on a yellow card or on the verge of a yellow card and play to them. So, for example, the boy that got booked in the first half, he's still throwing himself about in tackles. I would be getting a ball to Turnbull and Cham, McGregor, and telling them to have a run at him, because he is liable then to put a daft tackle in again, and then he'll be off the park. And when they're down to 10 men, the spaces are open up. Play to that. That's what other teams do. When other teams see that there's a player on a yellow card, they wind them up, and that's how he gets sent off. If they'd done it to Morelos a couple of seasons ago, we're putting the ball out wide to Taylor and we're putting it out to Frimpong, and they're running at the guys, and the end product from them so far hasn't been great either. So I would try and get a ball through the middle of the park and let's see where we go. Edward's starting to look good with his touches and the link-up play well, and Usy's coming. Give it 10-15 minutes, let's see where we go on.
So we need to call it out or be a bit cuter. The boy, they get booked for pulling Duffy down. 5 minutes later he pulls Duffy, but Duffy gets the ball away. If Duffy's a bit smarter, doesn't get the ball away and goes over, he's making the ref make the decision, because he's booked Cham for pulling someone back. And if you look at it, Cham's actually fell first. The guy pulls Cham back.
Booking, wasn't it?
The guy pulls Cham back, then Cham pulls him back. You're going, well, you're going to give the first fill. But so he set the tone, it's a yellow card for pulling someone. Well, if Duffy's a bit cuter, doesn't play the ball away, just goes over, you're going, he's on a yellow, ref. What are you going to do? So I think it's been smarter.
In summary, looking at the refereeing decision, the points that I would make is 5 minutes in, Duffy should have a penalty. Absolute stonewaller. 19 minutes in, Davidson's tackle on Frimpong, for me, doesn't even get looked at. We don't see a replay, unfortunately. 25 minutes in, Encham then Frimpong. So Encham's taken out, Frimpong's taken out. And then, for me, Encham's been niggled every time he's got the ball. He can't respond to that now that he's got the booking. And then 35 minutes in, Frimpong's skived for the second time. So it's been a dreadful refereeing performance. But let's now talk about the Celtic performance. There was a few changes in there. I had suggested that Edward would be rested for Klimala today. I thought Julien would come back in for Beaton and that Turnbull would come in for Christie. I got 1 out of 3 right. How do you think Turnbull's played?
I think he's still learning his place in the team. He's not done anything great going forward, unfortunately, but I think St Johnstone they've been allowed to kind of give away niggly fouls without cards coming out when you'd expect him, and then he can get everybody behind the ball, so it's closing the space, isn't it, for him? I think maybe it's Turnbull suffering that we're not getting the ball forward quick enough.
No.
We're just, again, we're being too slow. I think you mentioned it, Colin, it was a 3 centre halves had the most touches in the ball.
Yep.
That is a symptom that we're we're not moving the ball quick enough. And I think Turnbull suffered for it.
The thing is, he's always dropped. He's been looking to pick up the ball. He's been kind of out in the left. He's been out in the right. He's been through the middle. But this first half's really been two teams really blanking each other out. Neither of them's really created anything of note. The only really scare in the first half was when Barkas came out to clear a cross, and then Witherspoon got in front of him, which was a bit of a shaky moment, but Duffy cleared it up. And from then on, I mean, I think Turnbull had a shot that went wide. I don't really know if there's been anything of note as such.
McGregor had a chance as well, didn't he? But he didn't
McGregor
go right through it, did he?
And Eddie at the death there as well, as we're getting towards half time. If it was me, I'd have been screaming for him to leave it for Turnbull. We're just watching the replay there. He kind of tries to turn and put it on his left foot. We've got to try and create more chances. I know you were talking about Klamala coming on, but I think today might be the time to bring back Lee Griffiths.
Oh, controversial. That's a bold statement. I mean, this is one of the games, again, Colin, you're looking at it and you're looking for a bit of creativity. But further to that, I'm now also looking at how do you harden up that midfield area, because Frimpong's getting kicked all over the park. Encham's on a booking. He's getting booted all over the park. No one's challenging the referee. We've got the captain on the bench. You know, yeah, he's only being rested today. Do we make a half-time substitution? Because often the manager will want to see how it goes for the next 10, 15, because I don't think we've been under any real pressure from St Johnstone. No. You know, there's always that possibility of a breakaway or a mistake at the back. Do we just dig it out and eventually look to create an opening, or do you make that change? We've got Christie on the bench. As you say, Griffiths would be a bold one. I've got to say that would be a bold move, wouldn't it? I'm not saying don't do it. Similarly, Rogic would be a bold move. Do you bring in somebody like Scott Brown to try and solidify the midfield a wee bit?
Christie for Cham. I just think he'll move the ball quicker. He'll get more shots off, which is something we're lacking just now.
A shoot on sight policy certainly is something that Christie has, isn't it?
I think I would disagree with you though. I think as you're talking about solidifying the midfield, Christie's a bit of a soft touch. He's going to go and he's probably going to, if the way the referee's performing, you might not get a foul from what you expect as a foul, but with Brown at least there's a bit more solidness in there. So my sub, if I was going to make one at half time, which I've got to say credit to Lennon when he realised that there's only 3 breaks in play, but if you make a sub at half time, that counts as a 4th chance to make a sub. So well done to him for that. But if I was going to make a half time sub, it would be Brown for Encham. And I would be surprised if we don't see Griffiths at some point today, to be honest.
Well, I'd be happy with that. You know, I would be calling it. Obviously, he's a big favourite of mine. But I've got to say, in terms of Encham, there's a lot of the play that he did get involved in, that he was opening up the play a fair bit. And I turn around and says to you, you know, that's not the type of player that Brown is. I mean, he's getting the ball, he's playing it down the channels, and he's always looking to do something creative in Cham. Unfortunately, the way that he's been faced with a St Johnstone side, that, you know, there's not many gaps here, and he's had to play it back a few times. But I mean, going back to Brown, we shouldn't rely on Brown to come in and sort out that situation. You've got players like Duffy, you've got players like Ayer. I mean, they should be able to get on the referee's back, because from 5 minutes in, we knew what this was going to be like, with Duffy with a penalty shout.
I think Cham on a yellow, he's the sub, isn't it? With this ref,
if there's any opportunity to send him off, yes.
You know, so I think Cham has been creating a bit, but you're looking and going, but this ref, with Cham see out 90 minutes.
So Christie for Encham then?
Brown for Encham for me.
Brown for Encham.
I don't think St Johnstone are often enough going forward that we need Brown on there just now. I haven't seen anything for them. I think we're lacking that spark up front in the last third. And whether it's Ryan Christie getting shots off early or just driving forward, up, taking a bit more chances, moving the ball quicker.
I just don't know. I mean, you're then playing with 3 similar players off Eddie. You're then going to have Christie, Turnbull and Elianusi playing off Edward. And sometimes when you've got too many creative players, it can be an issue. I just think if you bring Brown on first, actually win the ball, win the midfield, control the game. There was chances towards the end of the first half when we're starting to create things. Give the guys 15 minutes. I'm not saying don't bring Christie on at all. I'd probably bring him on in the second half. But I think if you're going to make any sort of change at half time, for me, I'd bring Brown on.
I would go with 15 minutes. So I would say don't make a change just now, because you're right. There was chances towards the end. St Johnstone have got to be tired of kicking people, surely. They've got to be getting a bit fed up with that, and maybe their legs will feel a wee bit in the second half.
Well, let's go to some of the points coming in on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Everything a Celtic State of Mind puts out is free of charge, and we are broadcasting on a daily basis, so get involved. Stephen Forbes has got involved to say that Duffy being held after 5 minutes from a corner was a penalty. It won't be the last time this season a penalty won't be given for a blatant foul against the big fella in the opposition's box. I seen an interesting stat about a week ago when you consider the amount of attack and play Celtic have. I think they're 7th in the league table for penalties awarded.
There's some players like Frimpong that are too honest and won't go down when they've had touches in the box. And then you've got guys like Edward and Ayeti and Duffy who tend to get this sort of, I don't know, it's as if they get penalised for their own size. I mean, Duffy was penalised for being able to jump higher than a St Johnstone player earlier on. They got a free kick against him. Do you know what I mean?
He did have his hands on the boy's shoulder. I'd have been shouting for that.
The boy was making no attempt to try and win the ball, though. Do you know what I mean? The ball's there to be won. So
I think the Encham one was a good example of like for like, and Encham ends up getting penalised for it.
That one's, well, definitely Encham's foul first, and then he loses it, decides to pull the boy back, and you're kind of going, well, ref, you've seen the full instant.
Now, a lot of the comments coming in are less than impressed with the Celtic performance, and that's understandable. IH's decorating another slog. It would appear that the 2 European games certainly were a bit like that, weren't it? We were sitting at half time, nothing each. You're thinking, right, we're going to have to do something special to break down these sides. We've come up against St Johnstone, different capabilities in this St Johnstone side, and they've definitely approached it with the roughhouse tactics in mind. The referee, as you quite rightly said, Lawrence, is allowing them to do that. You are both saying maybe give it 15 minutes. I think would be a wee bit bolder. The teams are coming on. Let's have a look to see if there's been any changes made, and we will join you again at full time for our reaction to hopefully what will be a Celtic victory. Thank you one and all for joining us on A Celtic State of Mind.